This show is 1,000 times better than any radio or TV show because of Peter and actually interacting with the fan. I love the fans. I mean, this is what I envisioned. When I started this show at the radio station and it was 1,000 watts and we had nobody calling in and we had to create these characters, and I always talk about Rich from Clearwater and the reason why that vehicle was created because we didn't have any callers. So we had to create callers, and we gave the callers the opportunity to call in twice. And we used to give them the walk-up music. And damn it, I would do the walk-up music if it was not for copyright on Facebook or YouTube. But I am monetized now, so I have to mind my P's and Q's. But I love that. I love interacting with the Tampa Bay sports fan. Sean, the sports don, loved interacting with the sports fan. This is what this was built on. This is what this show was all about. Whether it's one person watching, 10 people watching, 100 people watching, 1,000 people watching, 10,000 people watching, 100,000 people watching, 1,000,000, which is the goal of this show, it doesn't matter. We're always going to interact with you because you mean something and you are the lifeblood of this show. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a Monday night edition, 4 days away from the NFL draft. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. And how do we start off this show as we always do here on a Monday, Wednesday night? And of course, for your fan draft on Wednesday, we've got some participants, but I got to be honest with you, plenty of open spots. We will start that show at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night where fans get a chance to be the general manager of their favorite team, where fans get the chance to be a general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you win, which basically means if, let's say, you pick the Washington Commanders and you go with their draft pick that they select on Thursday night, I buy you lunch. I mean, how can you beat that? And you get all these different fans on video and phone calls, and we get a chance to talk draft here as we always do every year on the Sports Web. So how do we start off this show as we always do here? 3 things. You know them, you love them, you got to have them. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Derek Stevenson of the Plunder podcast giving his analysis on what the Bucs should do at 26. Will they trade up? Will they trade down? Will they stay put? Is there a defensive player there you think is going to fall to them? Is it going to be an offensive lineman? Is it going to be a corner? We continue to talk about this. I get it. It probably won't be with the Bucs in picking until 10:45, 11 at night. So you're going to have to wait a while. But it's going to be a good wait, I think. Because I definitely think there's going to be a player on the board that you least expect for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With that being said, the Tampa Bay Lightning lose. So we will definitely recap that with Dan Herrejon of Scrum Sports as they lose to the Panthers 3-2. And right now, the Rays are losing 7-1, so that's not good. And the Magic are getting their doors blown off. So if you're done watching the Rays game, if you're done watching the Magic game, then definitely call the phone line. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Just one game. Some other news when it involves the Tampa Bay Rays. Pete Fairbanks is going on the IL for nerve issues. And he's definitely had some bullpen issues this year. Numbness in his hands and fingers the last couple years. So we'll see how that plays out. So once again, another injury for the Tampa Bay Rays and their pitching. Yeah, and the hitting has been also injured. Their shortstop tonight, 2 throwing errors leading to runs, hits a home run. That's probably been the only bright spot. Of course, he had to make up for it after throwing the game away there with the 2 errors. Zach Littell, didn't have it tonight. 6 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs. I would say that's not very good at all. And again, we'll get back to the Tampa Bay Lightning, but the Magic down 0-1. Looks like they're going to be down 0-2 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So plenty to talk about tonight. And of course, the draft. I definitely want to talk to you about that. Give me your favorite draft memory. I don't care what year it is. I don't care how old you are. You know, mine was 1995. And, you know, you're watching NFL Network where it says caught in the draft, and you don't realize how old you really are until you're watching that and you're seeing the prospects of Warren Sapp and where he's falling down into the Bucs' lap, where the Bucs actually trade from 7 to 12, where the Eagles take the greatness that was never realized in a Mike Mamula at 7. The Jets, 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 just end the season, as the fans would say almost every year, especially during that draft when they drafted Kyle Brady, not Tom Brady, Kyle Brady, the tight end. So they passed on him. The Minnesota Vikings, they drafted Derek Alexander, not as good as Sapp. And then you make the trade up to Derek Brooks. And I posted it today on Facebook. Is this the greatest first-round haul? Now, people, they weren't reading this correctly. I posted this on Facebook and Twitter, first-round haul. Not overall. We know that the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 4 Hall of Famers there, including an undrafted player in Shell, Donnie Shell, would be, you know, that's the gold standard, right? But the first round, I can't think of a team that got 2 players in the Hall of Fame, right? Maybe Baltimore with Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden. But you look at the value there with Warren Sapp at 12, with Derek Brooks at 28. So give me your favorite draft memory. Tell me who you think the Bucs should draft on Thursday night. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So let's get out to him right now. Let's go out to Mr. Derek of the Plunder. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You've called this show before. I told you we would have you on. So here you are, my friend, 4 days away from the NFL draft. How are you doing tonight?
Well, actually, I just had a great, fun weekend. Catered an event this weekend, and I was really busy last week. And last week was the first week I probably didn't put any thought into the NFL and the draft coming up. But I'll tell you, as soon as I got home, I decompressed, went to sleep, woke up. That was literally the first thing on my mind. Ooh, Thursday's the draft.
Well, that's it. Thursday's the draft.
And being a WWE fan, we've got the WWE draft starting Friday night too. So it's a really fun week this week as far as the draft concept idea goes. Well,
and I would be remiss here if I didn't introduce my co-host here. He's on the scene. He is the handicapper extraordinaire of the sports web. Let's go ahead and get his music on. Here we go. Mr. Harry the Greek, Chicago Bear fan himself. And I tell you right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this out of the hands of the fans. You're exactly right. You know who's going to make the first pick on Wednesday night for the fan mock draft? It's going to be you, because you're exactly right. Yes, you, because I am not buying anybody free lunch. We still got to get Kevin get his lunch, which we will. And he's going to pick for the Commanders. So who knows? He may still earn a free lunch, but we're not giving it away. We're going to let Harry the Greek make that pick. I think everybody knows who the Greek is going to pick on Wednesday night. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend. How you doing?
It's lovely to be. It's actually fantastic to be part of the Evolution. Manic Bus, how you doing, sir? Nice to meet you.
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you again. I'm excited about this draft week coming up. I'm excited about the real start to the NFL season. To me, the real start of the season is not free agency. It's where you get these new guys and you build towards the future of what you got working. And I'm super stoked about this young draft because it's really loaded in a lot of different positions.
Oh, my God, it's going to be so interesting this year in the draft, especially with all the players that are going to fall down right into the Buccaneers' lap, from a quarterback to defensive players to offensive linemen. There is going to be so many good players this year at the bottom of the first round. It's going to be one of the best possible drafts ever in recent memory. I'm not kidding you. I mean, not recent. I'm talking probably since the Super Bowl era. That's how good this draft is, Pete. There's so much uncertainty.
Well, there is so much uncertainty. I think the certain part is that Caleb Williams is going number 1, so we'll start there, Derek. Do you think that's going to happen? The Chicago Bears take Caleb Williams. That's a slam dunk. Or do they?
I'd be more surprised if you told me that the Bears haven't already by Thursday told Caleb Williams that he was going to be the number 1 overall draft pick. Okay. That's what I'd be more surprised. And I think it's a lock.
I think it's a lock too. Harry, have you heard any rumors? Because we know that you know the people in the know. So have you heard anything new from that camp out there with the Bears?
It's Caleb Williams. And if it isn't, they're going to pick up a plethora of picks, to be honest with you, because there's quite a few quarterbacks in this draft that are very capable of doing this, especially going to the team like the Bears this year that's just stacked. Offensively, this team is stacked. They have tight ends, they have wide receivers, they have running game. They're one offensive lineman away from being a really, really good offensive team. So whoever they bring is going to be successful. But if they don't draft Caleb Williams with this pick after getting rid of Justin Fields, I think the city would riot.
All right, so let's go ahead and read the comments here really quick, and then we'll get back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers first. And yeah, baby, it's draft week. That would be right there.
What's up, KR?
Yeah, KR, it will be participating. I think he'll be on video. He'll be the general manager of the Washington Commanders. So we'll see how many more people we can get a part of this. You pay $10. If you get it right, you win lunch. If you don't, you have some fun in the process, and you get a chance to be on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Anthony Richardson, read the comments, bro. Appreciate you, Mike. Bucs take an edge rusher. Let's start there because I kind of believe that. They take an edge rusher. But, Derek, who do you believe it's going to be? Is it going to be hold on. It'll be Jared Verse that slips? Is it going to be Latu from UCLA? Is it going to be Chop Robinson? Or is it going to be somebody else in your opinion?
Do you think Chop's going to drop that far, Pete?
Coincidentally enough, yes. I did 2 versions. I did one with a no trade option version, in my 7 rounds. And in that particular version of my mock draft, my final mock draft, the Buccaneers did end up taking Chop Robinson at number 26. My alternate, once I opened up the option of trades, I had a trade from the number 38 spot. Of the who was it? The Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans offered the 38th pick, the number 110 pick, plus a 2025 first round pick. I looked at all the variables. I ended up making the trade. They took Nate Wiggins in that position. I dropped down to 38 by picking up a first round pick and giving up 26 and 220, and I ended up with the guard out of UConn. So the Buccaneers ended up still filling a position of need in offensive guard. But I literally logic says edge rusher right now, and I take Chop Robinson at number 1 pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 26.
Oh, my thing is, he's athletically gifted. Harry, 4.4 speed, definitely blew it up at the combine. But when you watch the tape, he's not getting enough production for me, and that kind of scares me. So I think that's the reason why you may see him slip. Does that answer your question, Harry?
Yeah, it does. I just don't see him making it all the way down there. But I'm telling you, in this year's draft, nothing's going to surprise me. You're going to see players taken out of position in such a fashion for the first top 10 picks that I really think the meat of this draft is going to be, honestly, from the first 3 and then 15 to 32.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I'm not kidding you. There are going to be so many players dropping down, and some of these first-round draft picks, like they do every year, actually fall out of the first round. And I am telling you now, Peter, you're going to see more of that this year than you have in years past. This is an incredible draft, man. I mean, this is just unbelievable. And I don't normally get too excited over draft going, hey, look at this. I've always been a guy that's, hey, show me.
Yeah.
Show me when you get on the field. Let me know when you get to play with these big boys. I mean, man, you got 3 wide receivers that can go in the top 10. They're not going to. You got 5 quarterbacks that could go in top 10. They're not going to. It's only 8 spots. We haven't even talked about the offensive linemen, the defensive linemen, the stud corners. I mean, Peter, they're going to fall. It's such a great spot to be in. And Buck fans, don't worry about trying to jump up a couple of spots to grab a guy. You're going to get a great player at 27. This is the year, baby.
Well, 26.
26, sorry.
That's all right. I want to read this right here, of course. I'll get back to you in a moment, Derek. Evening, Peter.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Let me go out to Mike. What happens? That's what happens when the Rays don't want to spend money. Comment of the night. You guys seen my show before because you're exactly right. Samuel, Bucs will reload and will surprise the NFL again. I mean, let's go back to it, Derek. Were you surprised of this season they had last year? I mean, I wasn't. I thought they were definitely going to be able to win in the division. Division's weak. But Baker Mayfield turning that offense around, that defense doing just enough there, and they were only a couple games away from the Super Bowl, 1 game away from the NFC Championship. So, Derek, were you surprised at the result of last year?
Honestly, how we got from point A to point B was really a mystery. But as far as my predictions from last year, we were only 1 game off from my prediction as far as wins and losses. I believe that we had the potential to actually win more than we did. We lost a lot of games on our own. We gave up a lot through penalties or bad plays or miscommunications, bad route running, bad throws, et cetera, et cetera. But no, I was not surprised. And I do believe one of the biggest keys to a successful long-term reign at the top of the NFL, whether it's continuing to battle for the NFL Super Bowl championship or continuing to just battle in your division, you need that consistency. And I think going from last year to this year, we're only going to get better, in my opinion. I think we've got a lot of guys that came back. We just signed one last week with Will Golston. I think that was a big-time sign for us. He's great. He does produce. He's always produced, and he's a proven product here from Tampa Bay. Going back to something you mentioned earlier about potentially trading up in the draft, yeah. I personally want to mention that I believe there's only 2 players right now, in my opinion, based off of what we're looking at as far as Tampa Bay is concerned, worth moving up for. That's Jared Verse, if it's available and it's the right spot, as far as edge rushing, and Jackson Powers Johnson, the center. I believe that's a very valuable role to improve in. I do like Hainsey, but I really believe that guy right there is going to be a future stud in the NFL.
Yeah, you get him, and you've now solidified about 99% of those offensive line needs. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do not go offensive line in the best possible draft pick they can get in that first round for an offensive lineman, I'd be very disappointed because you've got to keep Baker upright. There was a 4-game stretch last season. I think it was even 5 games.
Yeah.
He didn't look very well because he couldn't see the field. You give him the time, Baker Mayfield showed you how good of a quarterback he could be. I didn't use the word serviceable. Okay. Yeah. I said how good and how talented his capabilities are when you keep him upright. But that's the case with any quarterback in the National Football League, but in particular for one Baker Mayfield.
All right, let's go back out to the comments here. You're on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with professional handicapper extraordinaire of this show, Mr. Harry the Greek, and, of course, our guest tonight of the Plunder. Really quick, tell everybody, Derek, about this podcast that you got going on called The Plunder. Of course, Bucs-centric. Tell everybody about it.
Well, I have a passion for the game of football, and I actually have a passion for sports journalism. I grew up on SportsCenter in the early 80s, and one of my favorite sports broadcasters was Chris Berman, and he really got me into this. And when I was in high school, I took a few journalism classes. I've actually got a few articles out for Bucs Life Media, but I wanted to be a bridge for people because I have an insane amount of passion to the point to where I forced my family to convert to football fans, whether they like it or not, just to be able to follow the game as much as I can. So, like, when I started this, it was more of a hobby for me, but the more and more I clicked go live, and the more and more I started doing things, the more and more I really got in tune with what was really happening and what I was doing and why I was really doing it. Am I doing it for me? No, because I'm staring at myself in a screen. But what I'm doing it for is not just me, but for the people out there that don't have the time to follow it like I do, that don't have the supportive spouse that allows me the over excessive abundance of football in her face, like she does. But it's a passion of mine, and the Buccaneers are. I bleed garnet and gold as a Florida State fan, and I bleed pewter and red and white, and I just love the Buccaneers organization and everything about the Buccaneers organization. And for me to be able to bring that format along to a social format, program to a social format, and bring it to Buck fans who I have personally gotten to know throughout my years as a Bucs fan, being a season ticket holder. And I've learned that one thing's for certain and two things for sure. There are no two Buck fans alike, and there's a difference of opinions, and I love hearing them. I love listening to your opinion, Peter. Harry the Greek, I love your show, Peter, and I listen to it for Harry the Greek sometimes. I listen to it for Peter, but bringing this, my passion, to the people that don't necessarily have the ability to get that's what I love.
He fits here. He really does, Harry. He fits. He brings the passion. He's a Florida State fan. He's a Bucs fan. I mean,
we're not gonna hold that against you.
This guy right here is a Florida fan, so that's
the SEC. I'm from Chicago originally, and no, for all my peeps out there in the Midwest that do watch and tune in, I am not a fan of the Tiny 10. Sorry.
Well, we're about to talk about the Tiny 10 here in just a little bit with another player that is kind of come out of nowhere, and you kind of always expect this. There's always a player that you're like least expecting, and you just comes out of nowhere. So we'll talk about him in just a moment. But let's go out to the comments here. Bucs will reload. Surprise the NFL again. I like that. Christopher Cole, let's go to this. 1995 draft changed the culture from the Yucks to the Bucs. I want to ask you, Harry, because you saw my post today, and I thought you were going to be one of the first people to get on it. And I asked Bucs fans and football fans alike, was that the best first-round haul that any other NFL team has ever had? Now, if you go back to 1967, you have Dick Butkus.
Gale Sayers and Dick Butkus. Nothing ever beats that. Not because I'm a Chicago Bear homer. Just really analyze that.
Well, I'll say
first off, you've never had back-to-back picks in the first round go to the Hall of Fame. Look it up, Peter.
Well, that's true, but here's the thing. Here's my point of contention.
And a team that may have won 20 games in their entire careers for the both of them. Also think about that.
Well, they never won a Super Bowl as Leo Haggerty, the legend.
Super Bowl? Hell, they never went to the playoffs with any of one of those two teams.
So that's why I would say the Bucs, and then the value there at 12 and 28, they both turned into Hall of Fame players. They also won a Super Bowl.
What a great haul, man! It was one of the greatest drafts of all time. It has to be, but it cannot. Look, all the haters are going to come out. Oh, he just hates the Bucs. That's not the case. They're not the Bears. No one's ever done that. Can you imagine that back-to-back picks in the first round and they both go to the Hall of Fame and they never won a Super Bowl? They never went to the playoffs. I mean, you have to think about that.
Yes.
Okay. That's just like when they say who's the greatest running back of all time. Of course, I'm going to say Walter Payton. He was the best football player. They say running back, football player. Do you realize in the first 10 years of his career, he never had one offensive lineman go to the Pro Bowl? Let that sink in. And that was in an era that everybody knew that the ball was going to number 34 and they were going to run it left, up the middle, to the right, sweep left, or sweep right. Or, God forbid, they threw the ball out of the backfield. It was all Walter Payton. And you still made the Pro Bowl year in and year out and never had one offensive lineman in the first 10 years of his career go to a Pro Bowl.
By the way, Harry, this guy right here, he's also a wrestling fan. So just saying.
Oh, God. Dick the Bruiser.
Well,
Dick
just to
Bucket.
comment on that post, I did see it. I didn't have a chance to comment on it, but I will personally give credit where credit is due. You know, what Harry's saying is pretty valuable, but I'm going to respectfully say 1A, 1B.
Okay.
Who's that?
Well, you're going to say Gale Sayers and Dick Buckus, and you're going to say
No,
Derek.
I think he's talking about the drafts, and I'll agree with you on that. 1A, 1B. I will. Were you talking
Yeah,
about the drafts?
those are right there. Those two picks
Oh, yeah.
for each section, each team's right
Oh,
there
my
are
God,
like
yeah.
I can't name any other sets of picks so close together for a single team being so impactful and leaving such a legacy behind.
I've never seen it ever been done. Let me tell you something. There's more draft picks in the top 10 that bust than that ever succeed, ever. Name how many Super Bowl quarterbacks were first overall draft picks in the National Football League. I implore you to bring it out.
Well, you got Zach Wilson today, who got traded for a 6th-round pick. So we got Justin Fields with the Denver Broncos there. So yeah, that's a guy that was one of the number one overall pick, but a 1st-round quarterback that once again.
But there are more busts in the 1st round, and to have back-to-back picks become not Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers, that's unheard of. Yeah, you're right. 1A, 1B. I'll do that.
All right, KR says, facts, Chris, 95 draft was a franchise-changing moment for the whole Tampa Bay community and franchise. Yes. KR again, yes, sir. I paid my deposit fee, and hail to the Commanders. Let's go out to Roger Shoe. Better late than never. Thank you very much, Tribal Troll.
Acknowledge me.
Let's go out to Samuel. Bucs will take 2 defensive ends. We'll see. There could be a record number of trades in the 1st round. Let's get out to that here because, Harry, you kind of mentioned that. And that's certainly possible, especially if some quarterbacks are on the board there, possible offensive linemen, even some defensive players that slip down. Do you think there could be a record number of trades on draft night on Thursday night?
I don't think there's going to be any trades in the first 3 or 4 picks.
Wow. Okay.
Or even the first 5 picks.
Okay.
Because they really know who they want to draft. Those are the teams that are really in need. And that's why I think some of those quarterbacks are going to drop. Now, once you get out of 5 and you get and this is where I wish I had JCA, Joshua Cole Allen. The guy's like a walking encyclopedia. Talks a lot, but he's a walking encyclopedia when it comes to that, especially with the draft. But I think picks 8 through 12, there could be a record amount of trade backs. And that's where I'm hoping the Bears actually do something. They move back a couple of spots to pick up a couple of draft picks and get some draft capital back. Because let's face it, they only have 4 picks this year. And you're still going to get a fantastic player at where they're going to pick at. But yes, I do predict, I don't think the first 4 or 5 picks, I don't see anybody trading back. I just don't.
All right, you did a mock draft there, Derek. What are your first 5 picks here? And then we'll ask another question. We'll get you out of here on that. And you can join us on Wednesday night if you want to chime in there. If we don't have any fan general managers because you guys decide not to make some type of financial commitment to win lunch and be on the Evolution because you guys –
I'll definitely look over my schedule. But yeah, I did a full 32 mock draft, and I had a couple of potential spots where you could have had some movement. But as far as it goes with the top 3 picks, I pretty much had locked in. I've got Caleb Williams going to the Bears. I've got Drake May going to the Washington Commanders. Wow. I've got Jaden Daniels going to the New England Patriots. At number 4, you've got Arizona, who could potentially move back, but I don't see that happening with Marvin Harrison Jr. sitting right there. I think him being picked up at number 4, if they don't do that, then you could see potentially the Chargers trading back. But I think if Arizona picks up, like I'm believing, for them to pick up Marvin Harrison Jr., I think immediately after losing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams this offseason, I think picking up a wide receiver like Rome Odunze at number 5 is the way to go for them.
I think he's fallen even further than that. And this is why this gets tricky. And again, I'm not a draft expert. I'm a handicapping expert. I handicap pro sports games. So this is really a little bit out of my wheelhouse. And I may have no merit with this opinion, but here it goes. I think Jaden Daniels is going to the Washington Commanders, and
Mhm.
I think the prototypical quarterback in a Drake May is going to go to New England. Then, when you get down a little further, when Arizona's picking, if they don't trade out of that pick, you are correct. They are going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. Whoever trades up for that pick, they're not coming to get him. They're coming to get a quarterback. And now this is when your wide receivers are going to start to be taken. And I got Roma Dunze, believe it or not. If the Bears don't take him at 9, he falls out of the top 10.
Going back to the Bears at 9, I want to ask you this, Harry, because we kind of talked about this. Would you rather them take another wide receiver? Because you already have Keenan Allen. You already have DJ there, DJ Moore. So are you going to go with another wide receiver? Because you kind of like the Detroit Lions at that point. And I get it. They're up there, but you could go with an edge rusher. You could go with an offensive lineman. You could go with somebody else.
Great question, Pete. I know the question you're going to ask me, but yeah, can you ever have enough wide receivers? No. Would I be happy if they took a wide receiver there? Absolutely. They don't need one. You have 2 really good wide receivers there. They have a couple that are on the bench. They are going to miss their little speedster that they let go to Atlanta.
Mooney.
Mooney.
Yeah, Darnell Mooney. However, with that being said, this team needs help on the interior offensive line. In particular, they need a left tackle. He's done a serviceable job for them. Do I see them taking a premier edge rusher? Don't be surprised that the young man from FSU go. I think he's better than the guy from Alabama. Sorry. That's
Agree.
just my opinion.
Completely agree.
I wouldn't surprise me to do that. But both of those players that I just mentioned will be available outside the top 10. All they have to do is trade back 1 or 2 picks, pick up a couple of more picks, still get the player that you want that's going to help them win and win now, and also get more draft capital. But that's just my opinion.
All right, Derek, one last question, and we'll get you out of here. We'll get you back on here on Wednesday night. If you want to come in here, we'll send you the link. Give me your best draft memory when it comes to being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan besides 1995.
The year we drafted Devin White, the draft celebration at the stadium. And I say that because my wife, again, going back to what I said earlier, my wife's an LSU fan. It was also
Tigers.
It was also our anniversary on that very specific night. And when I agreed with the ticket with my rep, I'm like, yeah, I'll take some tickets. And I didn't pay attention to the date when I said that. So I told the wife, I'm like, well, so this is what we're doing for our anniversary. So we went to the draft party, and that was the actual beginning of my wife truly like.
By the way,
accepting.
hold on. I sent a link to a particular individual that when this gentleman is done, I want to bring him in.
Okay.
And he doesn't need a formal introduction because everybody is going to know who he is. It's my Chicago connection. Please, Mr. Manic Buck, go ahead and finish what you're doing.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So we went to the draft party, and we stood out on the field, and as everybody knows, that particular draft, we were all hunting Devin White that draft. We wanted him. We knew he was going to be a good player. We were in need of a good middle linebacker, and he showed it in college that he had tons of potential. So when that draft pick got drafted, the crowd went crazy. Everybody had fun. We stayed till the end. We went out and stood by the water and that was the most memorable draft night, and it involved my wife, so it was a really personal feeling. So I will never forget that particular night for as long as I live.
All right, Derek, go ahead and promote yourself here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Look, guys, my name's Derek Manic Buck Stevens. Starting off in the beginning of June, I will be going weekly again with the Plunder. I also have a Facebook page called The Plunder. You can also catch me with JT Buckdad on Pancakes and Power Bombs, where we focus on a format of NFL, UFL, and WWE news. So you can check me out there. Anytime, any place, you can send me DMs. You have any questions, reach out to me. I'd love to talk shop with you. Peter Blake, I appreciate you. I love the show, man. Harry the Greek, I love you guys. Y'all have a fantastic week. Peter, I'll get back with you before Wednesday and let you know about the show.
Sounds good, my friend. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution, all right?
Absolutely. Later, guys.
Later. All right. So you want to introduce this guy?
Of course I do.
All right, go ahead. Let me go ahead and get you.
This is WDAE's very own. The very own, and the guy that does not put ketchup on his hot dog. I assure you of that. Does not put ketchup on his hot dog, Mr. Momola. How you doing, brother?
It's a crime. It's a crime, Harry, to put ketchup
I
on a hot dog.
I tell him that, but he doesn't understand. He just doesn't understand.
Let me defend myself here, John, and welcome to the Evolution. Appreciate the time, my friend. It's been a long time. I never said I put ketchup on a Chicago hot dog. I said I put ketchup.
It's just any hot dog. It's sacrilegious.
Any hot dog, Peter. You should know better. Come on.
I had no idea.
Hey, John, you ready for this? He's trying to tell me he's part Italian, too.
I am. I'm part Sicilian. I'm part Sicilian.
Very questionable. Very questionable.
Yeah, that's got to be questionable. He doesn't know what baptized is or anything else. He's part Sicilian.
God.
We'll have to explain him. John, bro, thanks so much for coming on. I got a couple of questions. You got the NFL draft. I know WDAE is going absolutely berserk, probably talking about the NFL draft and what's going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, it's easy to say it's a foregone conclusion that the Chicago Bears are going to take Caleb Williams. What do you think is going to happen after that? What do you think the Bears are going to do at 9, and what do you think the Bucs are going to do with their pick? I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
I mean, look, if you're looking for X's and O's, that's why I pay guys to be on the air, right? So, I mean, that's why I'm not on the air that often. I will say this, though. I think I would like to see the Bears build up the offensive line a little bit. I think given some more time for Caleb to kind of get used to the league, give him a little. I mean, look, we got weapons, right? We got DJ Moore, we got Keenan Allen. I like Cole Kmet at tight end. I still like that. I think you still got a okay running back, serviceable right now. But right now, I think just get the pieces you need to kind of keep him on his feet. And if we can do that in Chicago, I think Caleb's got a bright future. That's the one thing you couldn't say about Fields outside of not just stop throwing the ball in general. I'd like to see him increase, get a little bit better on the defensive line. I think that's definitely a top need for the Bears. I mean, they are in the NFC North, so defense does win championships, especially when you run the ball and play good defense. So I think you can go head to head with Detroit. Now look, the division's kind of up in the air. I know Detroit had a great year last year, but tape's out now, right? So teams are going to adjust for that Detroit Lions offense, that Detroit Lions defense. I think Jordan Love showed a lot last year in Green Bay, but again, tape's out, right? So I think the Bears are building a very They have a very successful plan that they're hopefully going to be putting into effect in the draft, and we'll see where it lands. As far as the Bucs, I mean, look, we're picking 26, right? So WDAE, we're all over it. From start to finish. We'll be broadcasting live from Raymond James Stadium on Thursday night, starting at 7:00. Zach Blobner and Pat Donovan, who I know both of you guys know very well. They will be manning our draft coverage on DAE, which you can hear on the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you download that free iHeartRadio app. Hey, I'm a programmer, right? I just bring in the downloads. That's all I ask.
It's the way it's supposed to be, isn't it?
Exactly.
Right. I have the $1 million question for you. Who do the Buccaneers take at that pick? I think they have that same exact need that the Chicago Bears have. It's going to be an interior offensive lineman. I just really share that thought.
And John, I would say this. I would say edge rusher is more of a need, and I would say the same thing about the Bears at 9. I don't want the Bears to take a wide receiver or an interior lineman. If they're going to take somebody, if Joel Oltz is on the board from Notre Dame, you got to take him. He runs to the podium. But if there's an edge rusher like a Dallas Turner or a Jared Verse, especially a Verse from Florida State, I believe you got to take him and pair him up with Sweat. What do you say?
Yeah, see, I mean, you guys are throwing a lot of names, a lot of colleges at me, man. I don't follow it that deep. I'm a typical Bears Grabowski, right? A Grabowski fan, right, Harry?
For those of you guys that
we're winning games, that's all I care about. I don't
listen,
care who the hell's on the field, right?
For those of you that don't know what a Grabowski is, you're looking at two of them. You're looking at Harry the Greek.
That's why we get along so well. You know why? Also, we don't put ketchup on our hot dogs.
That's one of the other reasons.
We don't put ketchup on our hot dogs. Peter, come on now.
John, David Schuster, Fred Hubner, Mike North. I've been in communication with all these guys. I know they're your previous colleagues, or you know them, and everybody has this. They're all mixed emotions, but I'll tell you one emotion that we don't differ on. Justin Fields had to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing that we all agreed on. There was something there that just wasn't right. He had to go. So if they don't take it now, again, if the Bears pulled a a rabbit out of their hat and they didn't take him. They traded back and grabbed one of the other quarterbacks. What do you think's going to happen in that city? I think it would just like turn upside down. I mean, especially even with the uncertainty where the stadium's going to be or anything like that.
Yeah. I would say this, Harry. Look, we got 2 baseball teams in that town that didn't win for a century, basically, right? I think
was it that long?
I think we've dealt with pain enough in that city.
Yeah, but the South Side won it first. Okay, let's put that on record.
That's absolutely right. No matter what ESPN says, in 2005, it was a glorious year on the South Side of Chicago. Just remember that. But no, I think, look, it's a Bears town. It's always been a Bears town. Michael Jordan played there. It's still a Bears town. They got 3 Stanley Cups with Kane and Taves. It's still a Bears town. Yep. Got a World Series with the Cubs. It's still a Bears town. White Sox fan, no one cares. But I'm a White Sox fan. Now I'm a White Sox fan now. I got it on my arm, right? I'm a White Sox fan. But look, the city don't care when the White Sox win the World Series. But I will say this: if they draft Caleb Williams, and if they just completely crap the bed with the kid, in the first season, it's gonna basically put a big spotlight on how the organization should have called Jim Harbaugh. They should have.
Yeah.
Bring him back home because look.
Oh, you're a Harbaugh fan to come home.
Dude,
that should have been the number one choice that they should have made in the first place. They should have fired Eberflus. They should have.
I like Eberflus. Why? I don't know. Why do I like Eberflus?
I don't like Eberflus. Number 1, I can't spell his last name. Number 2, I can't pronounce it. But number 3, the guy, look, he had Justin Fields and he did nothing with it, right? Correct. I mean, he had a really good weapon, and it's just been terrible since he took over. So, and plus, the guy can't tell the truth to the media. Look, you're in Chicago, man.
That's true.
They keep you alive there. I worked in that market for 8 years, man. I covered that team. I covered that city. You gotta tell the truth to the people. You can't be, pussyfooting around all kinds of different things, or else you're going to be exposed. And he was exposed. Jim Harbaugh, if you bring him into Chicago, you say, look, we're going to give you Caleb Williams to start. Right there, that's the nugget right there. I don't care what the Chargers are doing out there. What the Chicago? You are a Chicago Bears quarterback. You come back home. You take in our number 1 pick. And let's go for glory. And that's what you got to do. Unfortunately, the Bears didn't do it. So if they fall flat on their face, yes, the town will burn, but we always rise back up from the ashes, right? Because we always do that. We do in Windy City. The second thing, though, it's going to expose the failure of their GM to go out and get the big fish in Jim Harbaugh. And that's what's going to be for the fan base.
Tom Banner out of Chicago just come in and says, I 100% agree on Harbaugh. And Roger Shue, big Chicago fan, says ketchup is a sin on a hot dog. And of course, Roger has to put it in here just for you, John. Pete, as much as Italian as I'm Greek.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm Chinese. Come on. What are we doing here?
All right, John, final thoughts here because I know you're busy right now, man. I really appreciate the time. Always welcome here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Thanks a lot for the support. As always, you guys do a great job over there. Who do the Bucs take at 26 in your opinion? Is it an edge rusher or is it an offensive lineman?
I mean, I know edge rusher has kind of crept into the narrative, especially the last couple of weeks because, Shaq Barrett, look, I mean, he was really successful for a long time here. I still think you got to go O-line. Again, you got to keep Baker on his feet. You can, improve that line, makes it easier for Rachaad White, gives Baker a little bit more time. I think this is a huge year for Chris Godwin. I think he's really got to kind of show his worth if he wants to stay here. And maybe that, signing Mike Evans to the money that they did sign him, maybe that's kind of like, okay, we don't need Chris, maybe after this season. So I think this is a big year for Chris Godwin. I would expect a big year and a contract year for him. And I think, to help that, I think the Bucs are going to go offensive line number 1. In the first round. I would not be shocked, though, knowing Jason Light, if he trades down and maybe they fall out of the first round completely just to rack up a couple picks because maybe there's a guy that's on that board that, maybe it's not worth taking it at 26. Maybe we can get it early second round. Maybe there's a team that wants to move up. So, look, Jason Light's been here for a long time, right? And he's had a lot of success in this market. Drafting, really it's about 50-50. You got to get some guys that do produce and some guys that don't, Roberto Aguayo aside. That's the one that sticks out. But really, I think there's a really good possibility I would go offensive line with the first pick, whether that's at 26 or you trade down to get a couple more picks, and then you could probably get your guy there. But I definitely think offensive line first over edge rusher.
All right, there you go. So he agrees with Harry the Greek. I think there's a lot of people out there. I don't hate it. I just still say you got rid of Shaq Barrett. Who's going to be your guy on the other side? JTS, not so much. Yaya Diaby, I get it. He's one of your future.
You don't have to draft an edge rusher, Pete. You can get an edge rusher in the second, third, even the fourth rounds. They have a plethora of picks. There's going to be enough players that are going to be cut that are going to be serviceable. And that's what I think the Bears are going to do. That's what I think the Bucs are going to do.
Here's the other thing, too, they got to think about, too. Maybe this is more kind of a later rounds pick, but you may have to draft a quarterback, too.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, listen, if Michael...
How about if Michael Penix Jr.? I'm reading Pete's mind. What happens if he drops there? What a dilemma that's going to be in.
I got to tell you, I mean, because Trask isn't with the team anymore, I don't believe it. And plus, he's had enough cracks at the apple. Look, if you ain't going to try it now, you ain't ever going to try it, right? Well, so I think you got to
He was really a bust and never played.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think you really got to look at, maybe drafting a quarterback and maybe, I mean, look, you only got Baker for 3 years, but everyone knows the season after having a good year with Baker, now he's got his money now, kids. Just saying.
That's it. You're exactly right. John Mamula, thanks a lot for your time here. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolutionist.
Where can they find you, brother?
Yes, where can they
find me? Okay, I should have spelled my name out completely instead of just the last name, but I'm sure you can Google me and you'll find me. It's just John Mamula on any of the social media platforms. Obviously, WDAE, top sports talker in the market, only sports talker in the market. We got a big week ahead. We got the Lightning in the playoffs. We got the Rays shit in the bed against Detroit tonight.
Yep.
And we got and ruining my parlay. Thank you, Rays. And then we got the draft show on Thursday night live from Raymond James, 7 o'clock. You can get it on DAE, AM, FM, or online at the iHeartRadio app. Big night. Zach Blobner, Pat Donovan, blow by blow, pick by pick. It'll be a fun night at Raymond James.
All right.
John, there is one question I did have for you before you go, and thanks for coming on. Thanks for such short notice. I know you're really busy. What part of Chi-Town did you come from? Take me up. Put this in 3-screen, Pete.
Okay.
I was born Northwest Burbs, so I was born in Streamwood, Schaumburg, but I lived in the city for a long, long time. Montrose Park, right off the Lakeshore Drive, lived on Marine, and I had a short stint in Boys Town, and that was in my early 20s.
Up by Wrigley Field?
Yeah, by Wrigley, yeah. So it was about 5 minutes north of Wrigley, yeah. I never lived on the south side. A lot of friends on the south side, though.
No, why would you want to live on the south side? I am a south sider, and I'll have to explain to Peter where you lived at on the north side. He doesn't understand. But anyway, I was born and raised in Cicero.
Okay. Fred Human's from Cicero, yeah.
Who?
Fred Human's from Cicero.
Yeah. Here, good fun fact for you. Fred, if you're watching, how you doing? His first wife, his late wife, she was my next door neighbor, and I always like to share this story. Yeah, I always love sharing this. I was younger. I mean, I'm 57, and every day was in the summer. I remember when I was outside playing, I was playing with my dogs and the neighbors and stuff like that. She would always come outside and tell me to come sit next to her, and she'd always bring me a lemonade, and she'd always bring me something. And sometimes she would have a quarter and tell me to go down to Freddy's and go get 2 Italian ices, and I'd bring one back for her and one for me. So those are my memories of Fred's wife, and that's how I actually met Fred years ago.
Yeah, I met Fred through working at the Score. I'm still very good friends with Fred. Every time I go back up, I always make sure to make a stop in Downers and
Hubner is awesome. And of course, if you want to know what the Grabowskis are, that's where the Fat Mikes come from. That's where the Harry the Greeks come from. That's where the John Mamolas come from. And the Hubners. But Schuster, you are not a Grabowski. You are not a Grabowski, Schuster. And happy birthday to
There's a little inside joke. I think the pitch clock was invented because the David Schuster special was always wanted every single game.
Oh my God. And a lot of people in the Midwest, they do tune into the show. And they understand, they kind of get a kick out of it. And all of them, they occasionally blow up the DMs and say hello and things like that. But John, really, seriously, man, thank you so much for having, for giving us a few minutes of coming on here. I know Pete really appreciates it. It wasn't even preempted. I sent it to you and then just said, hey, by the way, he's in the back room. Bring him in.
Because I run 2 stations. I actually run the, DAE and News Talk, News Radio WFLA. So I'm kind of doing the normal
970 WFLA.
Yeah, so something pop up. I'm like, what the hell, I'll talk some sports for a little bit. Sure,
I got a true story for you about 970 WFLA that you didn't know.
You got stories for everything, Harry.
You remember the slogan, news and weather together at the top and bottom of every hour?
They are. Yep.
You're looking at the man that gave him that in 1984.
Ah, really?
Yes, sir.
So,
Listen
okay.
to that.
How about that, huh? Huh?
How about that?
Not
How
bad
about
for a
that?
Greek.
Where'd you steal that from? BBM?
Jerk. You already know that.
Exactly. Trapping the
You
weather
are-
on the 8th, baby.
John, thanks, man. Pete, kick
All right.
it off.
Have a good
brother.
night,
Thanks a lot, John. There you go. Right there. Let's get out to our other guest here. That was
What a great guy, man. What a great
Yes.
guy.
And I know you wanted to talk Chicago Bears. I know you wanted to talk some Bucs. They have the covers there. We got you covered that night because we'll be going live here on these platforms and giving you, the picks and our analysis and everything like that. But let's get out to Mr. Dan Herrejon here of, yes, Dan.
That name sounds familiar.
Yes, he is the editor and writer of the Scrum Sports. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television as we're going to switch gears and talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. But I enjoyed those last few minutes. I was born and raised in Chicago.
Another one.
But
hang on. Dan, I have a question for you. With or without ketchup?
Oh, please. Ketchup is a crime on a hot dog.
See?
Nobody puts ketchup on a hot dog.
Oh,
look at your screen and take a look. Raise your hand if you put ketchup on a hot dog. Anybody, Pete? Oh, there. See, there it is.
I'm used to that. That's the Florida thing. That's what I'm going crazy because my dog is running around. I think he wants a hot dog at this point, but you're not getting any ketchup on it. Get out of here. Listen, I've been doing that since I was young. I don't even know what to say at this point. I'm like surrounded by Chicago, and I love Chicago people. Don't get me wrong, because I grew up on the Cubs. There was no baseball teams here. It was either the Braves or the Cubs. I grew up on Harry Carey, Steve Stone, Andre Dawson, Ryan Sandberg, Mark Grace, the Chicago Cubs before the Rays were here. So,
and you know what? The comment of the night.
Nice.
John Mamula says, Pete, delete this video. Too much evidence for the feds.
All right, Dan, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Somewhat disappointing, especially their start. They lose to the Florida Panthers 3-2. They have a full skate today. What do you think? Give me your overall analysis of the loss to the Panthers. Once again, welcome to the Evolution.
Well, thanks again for having me. Well, you know what? I think John Cooper was right in his post game. The first 15 minutes of that game, they were horrible. Didn't register shot on goal. They looked flat. I mean, I was surprised that Vasilevsky kept them in the game. It should have been 4-5-0 at the end of the first. So for them to come back and tie it and head into the first intermission, tied up at 1, I think they had to feel that, things were about to turn around. They were fortunate to be in that position. And I also agree with Cooper's assessment that for the rest of the game, it was as even as you can have it. Mm-hmm. Now, going and looking back at the John Cooper era, they are, prior to yesterday's game, they were 5-4 in game 1 in round 1. They did go on to win 6 of those 9 series. So losing a game 1 is nothing new for a John Cooper Tampa Bay Lightning team. I am expecting the exact opposite in game 2 tomorrow night. I think we're going to see the team that we saw after the trade deadline. Do the jump that and the energy that Anthony Duclair brought to that top line.
Yeah.
It just worked its way down to all the lines, and they had a couple of nice little streaks post trade deadline. And I think that's the team we're going to see tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get off to the start that you got off of. I mean, it was like, 15 minutes? It took them, 15:55 to get their first shot, and then They had a total of 10
Right.
combined shots for 2 periods, and for total 19. That's not Lightning hockey. I will say you definitely got to shoot the puck. You got to come out with more energy. So, and you're exactly right. The Lightning have been in this situation before. So because of that, like you said, do you feel confident? What do you say to Lightning fans out there, Bolts fans saying, oh no, this may be a hole. This may be a must-win game. This team, very veteran-laden, Kucherov, Stamkos, Braden Point, they've been there. They've done that before. So would you tell the Lightning fans to be concerned? Would you be concerned? You kind of answered that question, but just to kind of talk to the Lightning fans at this point. They shouldn't be concerned about this slow start, right?
Well, I don't think so. And I had some conversations with some Lightning fans after the game yesterday. And one of the things I said is, look, in the NHL, not a series until the home team loses a game. For all intents and purposes, all Florida did was hold serve. They're supposed to. That's the number 1 team in the Atlantic. Yeah. I mean, this is no pushover team. They won 4 straight games to end the season to win the division by 1 point. You got to give credit to that Florida team for what they've accomplished over the last couple seasons. But at the same time, there's one thing that this Tampa Bay Lightning team has that I don't think any other of the 15 playoff teams have, and that is the playoff pedigree. And you rattled off some names, but you go from Stamkos, Kucherov, Braden Point, Cirelli, on defense, Victor Hedman, Eric Chernak, and of course, their all-world goalie, Andre Vasilevskiy. There are hundreds of playoff games in the last few years under the belt of those guys. They know how to play. They know what season it is, and I fully believe that this series is going to go 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, and Harry, I know you watched the Tampa Bay Lightning just a little bit. I mean, what are your concerns? Because, of course, they lose to Florida yesterday. But
I was disappointed in that game. I honestly thought, and I had a pretty big position in that game. I don't mind to tell you when I was wrong. I gave that pick out on the Cup of Ray Sunday morning and said that they really should just take Tampa because I thought all the pressure was on the Florida Panthers. I can't see them losing game 2. I just don't. If they lose game 2, they're done. The end. Okay, yeah. The end. I still think the pressure is still on the Florida Panthers. They have to beat the Lightning. I don't think the Lightning have to beat the Panthers.
Good point there, Dan. What do you think?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, you cannot be the division winner and not be expected to win round 1. So I completely agree with that. And they, as a team, the Panthers, they got a lot of playoff experience last year. Nobody thought they were going to do anything, and they beat the President's Trophy team in Boston. Then they beat Toronto, and then Carolina. All 3 teams that did far better than them last year in the regular season. Vegas took it to them in the Stanley Cup final, but that experience, I look back to the 2014-2015 season. That was Cooper's second full year when he took them all the way to the Stanley Cup final, but lost to the Chicago Blackhawks. But I think set the table for the run that we saw in the next few years by the Lightning after that.
We're on with Dan Herrejon, editor and writer of the Scrum Sports, talking Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Harry the Greek. Cooper said today they look like they were pretty dialed in, so that's always a good thing. You have a full skate there. The guy that's been pretty dialed in all year long is Nikita Kucherov. Dan, kind of talk about him. To me, he deserves to be the MVP of the league. I know that he won the Art Ross, but what he meant to this Tampa Bay Lightning team with their injuries, especially with the Vasilevskiy. Kind of talk about Kucherov, and do you think he's the biggest key tomorrow night in Game 2 versus the Panthers?
Well, I mean, everybody knows how good Nikita Kucherov is in the offensive zone. The Lightning play, especially on the power play, quarterback.
Mm.
I think Florida did a good job of neutralizing his touches in the offensive zone.
Right.
If you look, it almost seemed like they had, I think in football you would call it a spy. They had a player just, it seemed like he was attached to Kucherov. I would look for that to happen again in game 2, but I'll tell you, nobody sees the ice. Nobody sees all the other players on the ice the way Nikita Kucherov does. And I got to tell you, I'm going to give out my age. I'm a little older than did you say Harry was 57?
36. I'm 36.
Okay, 36. Well, I'm a lot.
57.
I'm
57.
I went to my first black still with the Blackhawks.
Really?
So that
What year?
I've seen an awful lot of hockey, and I'm sorry.
And he knows Bobby Hull. Then you remember Bobby Hull?
Oh, of course, Bobby Hull and his brother Dennis. Stan Mikita was my favorite, and Tony Esposito, Phil's younger brother. I mean,
Look at all these Chicago people you got coming on here. This is why this show got so smart, Pete.
Well, I guess so. I mean, Chicago took over tonight. I wasn't, thinking this. It's not a bad thing. We're talking hockey here. We're talking football. So with that being said, you talked about Nikita Kucherov. Do you believe any of these rumors that have come out about Stamkos possibly leaving the Tampa Bay Lightning? Because you hear the rumors. I don't believe it. I didn't believe it in 2016 when he had an opportunity to go to Toronto for more money. So do you believe this nonsense? Once again, is this clickbait, or is there something to this with the Lightning and Stamkos and everything else?
I'm going to tell you, I think Steven Stamkos is the best captain in the entire league, and I'll tell you why.
That's strong.
This team was on the precipice of some great things back when Stamkos was a free agent. I wrote a piece a year after that calling him the linchpin, because he, as a leader, he did what leaders do. He signed a very team-friendly deal to stay here at 26 years old for the next 8 years. That's the contract that's ending today. The following year, a year after Stamkos made that decision, Victor Hedman did the same thing and got less money to stay. And it followed. Then Kucherov took a bridge deal. Vasilevsky took a bridge deal to help the team find the Braden Points and the Anthony Cirellis and the Yanni Gourds and make the trades for Goudreau and Coleman that helped them win cups. None of that, in my opinion, would have happened had Stamkos been greedy, because he easily could have got $2 million, possibly even $3 million more a year to leave back whenever that was, in 2018, 2017, whatever it was.
Yeah.
He didn't. And that decision, that was the decision of a leader. And look at all the players who followed their leader. As a result, we saw 2 cups in consecutive years. We saw 3 cup final appearances in consecutive years. And I'm telling you that I think that they could be making a run this year, because they're all a little long in tooth now, because those 2 cups were, 3 and 4 seasons ago.
Sure.
Stamkos is 34, Hedman's 33. So these guys don't have a whole lot of years to play, but that playoff pedigree, nobody can take that away from each and every one of them. When you look at the number of playoff games that they have as combined as a team versus Florida, it's laughable. That is what's going to help this team bounce back in this series and make a run.
Yeah, you talk about Stamkos. I kind of feel like it's like the Mike Evans effect, right? Stamkos, Evans takes less money. He restructures. He helps the organization out. You hear all the rumors, much like Stamkos in 2016 in the last couple of years, going to a bigger market. And Evans says, you know what? I want to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Same thing with Steven Stamkos. I want to be a Tampa Bay Lightning captain. So with that being said, what's your other biggest key to this game and game 2 for this team to pull out a victory tomorrow night?
Well, I think I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. I think that top line of Kucherov, Point, and Duclair, they got stymied by Florida. I think we're going to see a couple of goals from that line. And if that happens, watch out, because the other lines then begin feeding off of that. Then Paul Maurice behind the bench of the Panthers, he's got to put his best defenders against that top line, and only that top. But then that Stamkos line and the Nick Paul line, opportunities to score when they're playing against defenders who aren't quite as good as the one matching that top line. So, but I really do expect Kucherov, and I just want to add this one thing. How many passes have we seen Kucherov make this season? He wasn't even looking at the player. He wasn't even looking at that part of the ice where he was passing, and yet it's tape to tape. He doesn't miss. The reason I brought up the how long I've been watching the NHL, Original Six.
Yeah.
I don't recall. I look at Pavel Datsyuk, and that guy was a magician with the puck, but I don't think he could hold a candle to Kucherov in terms of passing. The closest that I would say would be a Bobby Orr.
Wow.
But I've seen Bobby Orr before he had his first knee surgery. And that player, he was the best player I had ever seen.
Wow.
Before the knee surgery. This guy
was unbelievable.
He was unbelievable. You know, Boston almost made him a forward. He was that good offensively. But he was so good defensively that they couldn't afford to do it. This is a 9-time Norris Trophy winner, consecutive.
Dan, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Hardest slap shot back from that era, even with inferior equipment. Who was it?
Wow.
Do you remember?
Well, you know what? The one that I remember the most is Iafridi. What was his Al
Iafridi? Yes, Iafridi, Boston, and several teams. Yes, like 110 miles an hour.
That's what they said. Bobby Hall was 110 miles an hour.
Wow, and the only reason that I remember goalies not wearing a mask. That's how far back I go. But when Stan Mikita was one of the first players to curve his stick, when Bobby Hall curved his stick, that's when goalies started to wear masks, because he could lift that puck. And you're right, coming at 100 miles an hour, you didn't want to get hit in the face with a Bobby Hall slap shot.
No, that was the fastest slap shot I've ever seen back from that era.
All right, I want to talk about another Chicago guy, and we'll get you out of here on this. Are you surprised by the development of Brandon Hagel this year? Of course, he scores yesterday. This is the reason why the Lightning were willing to trade that first-round pick, and a lot of fans were up in arms when he came in. He didn't necessarily produce right away, but he's taken off. How surprised are you by Hagel's development this year?
Well, you know, I still have two brothers who live in Chicago, and they're Blackhawk fans. So I
Of
have a
course.
good feel for the Blackhawks. And I'll tell you, the day he got traded, Jonathan Taves was distraught. He said in an interview in Chicago, he said, well, clearly we're rebuilding if we're giving away our best young player. And he was talking about Hagel. That meant a lot. I was excited when I read that wow, because I had heard of him, but he hadn't really done much. Now, the initial reaction here in Tampa, Lightning fans need to understand a first round draft pick. And remember, for the last decade, the first round for the Lightning is among the last 5 picks of the first round.
Correct.
I did an article a couple of years ago, and I went back 12 years, less than 30% of the last 5 picks in round 1 of the National Hockey League draft ever even get a cup of coffee in the
On
league.
the ice.
So
I have one last question for him, Pete. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
What do you think of Connor Bedard? I mean, just think about this young man for a second. How good and what is his ceiling in the NHL?
well, I'll tell you what, he's not a big kid.
Nope.
But he does that I've only seen guys like Crosby and McDavid and Kucherov do. This guy's got they talk about, GMs talk about a high hockey IQ. Bedard has it. Now, the only thing, my brothers and I, we have talked a lot about the Bedard, and I said, this kid, you guys are going to love this kid. He's going to set the league on fire. The only negative I think that I've seen is I don't know if you guys remember Stamkos as a rookie. He was paper thin. He is not like that anymore. He worked out with former Lightning Gary Roberts, and he bulked up, because when you're a scorer, and Stamkos came into the league, and he still holds the moniker of being a sniper. You're a scorer in this league. You better be prepared to get hit, because that's one way a defense can throw you off your game. And Bedard,
let's face it, man. He's 20 pounds. He's 20 pounds away from being in his ideal weight. He's still a puppy. I mean, let's get that straight. The guy isn't even at 20 years old. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I mean, he's gonna grab some bulk. He's. Hey, let me tell you something. He had his welcome to the NHL moment when he stuck his chin into something, and got his jaw broken. Trust me, he's going to beef up. But boy, oh boy, I haven't seen a talent like that since Crosby. I'm not kidding you.
I would agree. And you know what? Because of the person or the player, just because he was a Lightning killer and has been a Lightning killer most of his career. But that isn't bad company, because Crosby's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You can't take him. And if Bedard even comes close to that, and I think he will, I think when the dust settles on Bedard's career, he's going to be a first round. I mean, provided he has a good long career, 10 years or more.
He's got to stay healthy, and they got to give him a supporting cast.
Skills. Well, that other young kid, Nick French, is it, or something like that? For the Blackhawks, they brought him up at the end of the year, scored on his first shot. So, things are looking up, and they got a couple young defensemen that are really starting to understand the game a little bit more. Scotty Bowman said, defense, NHL defenseman is the hardest position to play in the sport. I would agree with him. If we remember how Victor Hedman was his first couple years, he lost, and now he's a perennial Norris Trophy candidate, and he's been an elite NHL defenseman. I think it just takes time, but yeah, I'm excited to see what Bedard does the next few years. And like you said, as he fills out a little more, imagine he's only 18. Imagine him at 21, 22 when he's in the prime. Oh my God, 70 goals won't be unheard of for him.
Good stuff, my friend. Go ahead and give us some final thoughts here, Dan, on game 2 tomorrow night. What do you think happens? Who's the guy that you think really stands out? Is it Kucherov? Is it Stamkos? Is it Braden Point? Or is it somebody else?
Well, I think the thing that I'm going to be looking for is the first 5 minutes of the game.
Okay.
The tempo that the Lightning set. Looking back at the stats, the Lightning out hit the Panthers 60-56. They also almost doubled the Panthers in blocked shots. So there's some good things that they can take from game 1. Obviously not the score, but I think in the first 5 minutes, I think we're going to see real NHL playoff hockey, and I think the Panthers need to be ready. As far as who I'm looking for, it's going to be that top line: Point, Duclair, and Kucherov. I think if they start to go off, it's going to be lights out for Florida.
All right, Dan Herrejon, editor and writer of the Scrum Sports. Once again, go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Well, you can find us on thescrumsports.com. We cover the Lightning. You can also find me on all social media platforms. Dan.
All right. I appreciate the time as always, and definitely don't be a stranger. We'll have you back here to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning as they go forward.
Well, I'm looking forward to round 2. You guys
That's
have
it.
me back.
Yes.
Maybe we get a beef sandwich.
There you go.
All right.
Will you explain to him what a baptized beef is?
What is that? Is that another Chicago?
See, Dan, you see what I'm talking about?
Oh my God, Peter, we got so much to teach you. But I'm gonna do you one better, Harry. When I lived in Chicago, I would go to a beef place, Al's or whatever. I would say sweet, wet, and hot.
Sweet, wet, and hot. That's Pete's favorite, but he just doesn't know it yet.
Okay. It sounds good. It sounds good. All right.
Well,
thanks a lot, man. Appreciate
one.
Yes.
Right.
Sounds
for
good.
having me, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Dan Herrejon there, the Scrum Sports, talking Tampa Bay Lightning. Because you guys always say he doesn't talk Tampa Bay Lightning enough. So
we did.
Yeah, we gave you a second.
We did.
We tried to talk about it. You don't want to talk about the race tonight because they lost looked like 7-1. It looked like there.
As my buddy John Momoa says, they just shit the bed.
Yeah, well, they definitely did.
Listen,
and then the Magic hasn't been much better. Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that. I mean, we do a lot of work when we do these shows, but sometimes they're unscripted. We had John come on, but I'm going to really switch gears. I want to bring something up. I want to circle back and talk some football. Kenny Nagunst, I don't know if people know who he is. You can look him up on Facebook. He's the CEO and host of 806 Sports Radio, and they're out of Amarillo, Texas. You can catch him on Facebook. You can watch him. Let me tell you something. It's a great show to sit there and watch. He sent me an article.
Okay.
And I'm finding this hard to believe.
Okay.
That it was disgraceful what Tom Brady did to his fans this past weekend. Are you aware of this?
What did he do?
Dude, this isn't a joke. No, I'm being serious. There were people that were paying thousands of dollars. Okay, and I'm going to read it. It says, after Tom Brady had spoken in front of more than 2,000 people at a business motivational conference in Miami on Saturday night, it was time for the VIPs. The high rollers who paid $3,600 for a ticket for a speech and photo op and signed item lined up for a chance to take their pictures with Brady. Now, this isn't uncommon. Okay, a lot of athletes do that. As the cameras flash, Brad Jarek, who only collects Brady items, turned to Brady, seemingly not caring for the picture with the Hall of Famer. I saw the items you signed for us, Jared told the collector, that he said to Brady, I'm disappointed with the signatures. We paid a lot of money and it's not right. Jarrett and Brady had signed one of no tickets of 2,000 NFL draft tickets when Brady famously was picked in the 6th round. So we handed this ticket to him, and he just scribbles something on it. Some other guy turned around, and he had Brady's first to Gronk ball, and Wagner said it was appraised at $450,000. And let me show you the autograph that Tom Brady signed.
The heck is that?
That's a $450,000 football, and that's what Tom Brady put on there. I mean, that's horrible.
I mean, is that his signature?
That's not his real signatures. It's usually TB. Someone says, I asked for TB12, not Tim Allen. I mean, it's horrible, man. I mean, if you get a chance, you've got to read this article. Just surface it. Tom Brady signed Spark with an uproar. He defaced our stuff. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of stuff. I mean, dollars worth of stuff that the guy essentially has ruined.
Wow.
I mean, it's horrible.
All right. Well, you learn something new every day, especially when it comes to Tom Brady. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Questions for the night. Who do you want the Bucs to draft at 26? Once again, is it an edge rusher? Is it an offensive lineman? Is it a corner? Give me your favorite draft memory. You want to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Orlando Magic, feel free to vent. And let's go out to the phone lines here.
Acknowledge me.
Let's go out to the tribal troll, Mr. Roger Shue. Welcome to the Evolution. What's on your mind, boss?
Roger.
What's going on, Coach Peter?
What's going? You know, I'm never going to live that down. I'm really not. But I do know somebody close to me that does also have ketchup on his hot dog, but I won't say.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to say. I'm not going.
He ain't referring to me. Trust me, Roger.
No, I'm definitely not. I know somebody else.
Right.
I know you better than that, Harry.
Trust me. I know. Why would I ever do that?
It's good, man. I like ketchup and spicy mustard.
What's going on, Roger? What's on your mind, buddy?
Okay, Greek, real quick. What would you do at number 9? I think you've already gone over this, but Joe Alt, or do you trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr.?
You definitely don't trade up because you don't have enough capital, and you don't want to give what capital that you have for next year, because next year they have a ton of picks. I think there's going to be plenty of picks. If they take an offensive lineman at the number 9 pick, I'll be very happy. But let's be honest, I think they could still trade back a couple of spots because there's going to be a quarterback that's going to be available right then and there, and one of these teams are going to come up and try to grab them. That's just my opinion. I don't think they're using that 9 pick, but if they do, they're going to grab themselves an offensive lineman.
Yeah, offensive lineman or an edge rusher. I'd say edge rusher if there's somebody there like a Turner or, and again, you know, it depends on Atlanta being at 8. Is it a Jared Verse or is it Turner? Either one of those players, I think, solidifies that defensive line. And look, well, you've got right already Montez Sweat on one side. Could you imagine a Jared Verse or Turner on the other side? I mean, you're the monsters of the Midway for a reason.
Jared Verse. I'm going to tell you something. That linebacker core in that secondary is really good, but you can imagine that. It's just unreal. Oh, and by the way, breaking news, Pete, for the 8th time this year in 23 games.
Yes.
The Chicago White Sox have been shut out.
Oh,
You are watching history, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy.
Harry?
Yes, sir.
Sing it along with me. Go Cubs, go.
Hang
go
up on him.
Cubs, go.
Cubs,
Hang up on him right now.
You know what? Because you just said that. Goodbye. You know why I did that, Roger? Because I'm not able to do that at my other job. Call back if you want to use that second call.
I love him.
255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go back out to some of these comments here because we missed them. Recon Scout says, what's up, Greek? Yeah. Roger excuses. Dave says, I got to go Barry Sanders, then Walter Payton. Harry Barry did a lot without nothing as well. If he cared about records, he could have crushed those records. Absolutely.
You know what? I want to comment to that. He is absolutely correct. I never said that Walter Payton was the best running back. I want to correct everybody. I said that Walter Payton was the best football player ever to
Wow.
play in the game.
Wow.
There's a big difference. Running back, yards, flashiness, you're damn right. Also, he was doing it with 12 and 13 games. Go ahead, next call.
Very true. Let's go back out to the
Acknowledge me.
I hung up on you. Go
Peter?
ahead. Yes.
I hate you so much now, Malaka.
Oh, I love.
You wanted to say that I'm not part
Harry.
Yes, sir.
Sicilian and all this other stuff.
Give him a Father Nelson.
Shut up and be quiet.
You're as much Sicilian as I am Greek.
I'm serious, man. I am.
He's Sicilian, all right.
On whose side of your family?
My dad's. Rich from Clearwater.
Oh my
God. Yeah. Peter Blake sounds real Italian, real Sicilian.
It is. I'm telling you,
Peter Blake can't spell Sicilian.
Will you shut up and be quiet?
This guy sucks.
All right, Roger. What else? What other?
Roger. When we take Peter to Chicago, forget the beef sandwiches, forget the hot dogs. You and I will be eating beefs, okay, naked and dipped, okay, with some sweet, maybe a little bit of hot on the side, and we'll just get him some juicy bread. Now, a real Chicagoan knows what a juicy bread is. Pete, I'm going to explain to you what it is. It's the bread very similar to an Amoroso roll that the Philadelphia people use for their cheesesteaks because it has to hold together, because it has to hold all the moisture. So when we were kids and we didn't have a lot of money, we couldn't afford that beef sandwich, we'd go in and ask for juicy bread. And what they would do is they would take the actual roll for the beef sandwich and they would take it and baptize it in the beef juice. So what would happen is it was really good. Sometimes you catch a sliver of beef in there. Oh, man, it's the best in the world. If Banner's watching, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's the best.
All right. So I got to try it when I go to Chicago. I've never been there before. Roger, anything else here on the Evolution?
I'm dropping him off
where
in
do you
Boys
think
Town.
Penix ends up?
That's a great question. I mean, I think there's a possibility he could end up with the Raiders at number 12. I mean, the Broncos, even though they trade for Zach Wilson, could he go there?
I think he falls. I think he falls if the Bucs. Let me tell you something. Tampa Bay is going to be in a quandrum. Very, very, whatever the hell that word is. I don't know. I'm trying to sound smarter than I am. Okay.
Conundrum.
Okay. I mean, let's conundrum. Okay, a conundrum. Okay. I mean, like plethora, as Ray would say. But anyway.
Word.
Quadrum.
Okay. You're such an ass sometimes. But anyway, I don't think it's going to be that much of a conundrum to be in. They don't pick him, but I don't think he stays in the first round. I think that young man actually exits the first round. I predict that one of these quarterbacks, and I think it's going to be him. And it's not because of lack of talent. I personally believe he could be potentially the best quarterback in this entire draft. But because of his age and because of the injury history, for those reasons, I think he falls. I really do.
The Raiders there, unless they make a trade up for Jaden Daniels.
They're not really big on left-handed quarterbacks, Pete. That's the only thing that I'm going to say about them. The Raiders don't like left-handed quarterbacks.
Well, they don't. Al Davis is not there anymore, and there's no John Gruden, and it's Pierce running the show there.
No, that's what current management said.
Okay, all right, we'll see.
I wasn't talking about.
I don't think he gets past 12. I don't.
Okay. I have it on a reliable source that Baker Mayfield eats ketchup on his hot dogs.
I heard that too, bud.
All right, there you go, Baker Mayfield. That's why I like. That's why I like Baker Mayfield. There you go. That's my quarterback right there. All right, Roger. Thanks a lot for the time. Appreciate you. Get out of here. All right, let's see here. Let's go out to Ralph.
Believe it or not, I'm gonna have to go, buddy.
You got to go?
Absolutely. It's 10:30. It's I got to work tomorrow.
All right, well, go to work.
I got to pay that electric bill, bro.
You do. Absolutely. We all did. I already paid the electric bill. So go ahead, promote yourself here on the Evolution.
Promote what? I'm just Harry the Greek. You find me here Monday and Wednesdays. Occasionally you'll find me on a Sunday. It doesn't make a difference. If you want some picks, go ahead and DM me. You can find me at Harry Berg the Greek or Harry the Greek Berg _ whatever the hell it is over on Twitter, or now it's the X, but it's Harry Berg on Facebook. But you can find me always here as the co-host of the Sports Web Monday and Wednesdays. Shout out to everybody, all my Chicago beeps. Thank you so much, John, for coming on. It's always a blast having you there. And thanks for the comments and questions. You guys have a really good night, and go Bucs, go Bears, and hope the White Sox lose 100.
Well, there you go. They most likely are on their way to losing over 100 games the way they're playing right now.
115, baby.
That's craziness. That's crazy. But Harry, we got the mock draft starting on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
I'll be
So
here.
early time, 8 o'clock there. We're trying to get fans together. We got KR.
I'll be here. And I get the first pick. I love it.
Get the first pick. So you can rearrange the whole draft here. You can actually, and whomever gets it right, if you pick for your respective team and that team that you picks that same player, I buy you lunch. Harry, you could screw the whole draft up. You don't even have to take Caleb Williams
Listen,
at number one.
Listen. I'm taking Caleb Williams at number 1. I don't want a lunch. It's a foregone conclusion. I don't think anybody should get lunch unless they pick something correct after pick. You ready? After pick 5.
I think
Pick 5.
I think 2 is where
I think starting pick 5 is where it should start, because honestly, it just gets so much more difficult.
All right.
After pick 4.
I think your friend is calling. I think this is Tom Banner. So
keep me on there.
You may want to hang out. Welcome to the Evolution. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Bears.
I knew it. All right.
Bears.
What's going
up,
on,
Tom?
Banner?
I just got to get a few comments. You got some great guests, and I could say that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very knowledgeable. Coming from a real city.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's coming from the Chicago people. We understand that.
Funny story. You got Kelly's here, and the first time I took her down to the Boys Town for a game, we were at Byron's. She ordered a hot dog with just ketchup only. They wouldn't put it on her. They pointed to the table where the ketchup's on it.
No, really. Go ahead and repeat that, because Pete, this is no joke.
Okay.
His wife her name is Kelly. By the way, she's absolutely beautiful. He definitely outkicked his coverage, and Tom knows it. But anyway,
she's sitting right here.
Anyway, he goes in and he orders a hot dog. They both order one, and she said, "What do you want on this?" Because when you order a hot dog in Chicago, it comes one way. You have to tell them what you don't want on the hot dog. You just say all the way no sport. The sport means the peppers. So she said add ketchup, and they went, "Huh? What did they do, Tom?"
They pointed to the table where the ketchup bottle was.
They would not put it on there.
Jeez. Wow.
All right. No, Harry, you said that you think Jaden Daniels is going number 2.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think Jaden's going to go to the Washington Commanders. Yes.
I think that should be the pick, but I'm not sure about Washington, because the rumor is guys out there. It could be Drake May. It could also be J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. I'm not sure if I buy this or not, but a lot of people like the fact he won a national championship.
J.J. McCarthy's going to screw Washington up for the next 4 years. Banner, what's your thought?
I think Caleb might screw Chicago up, but Fields was terrible. Who knows?
Yeah, but who do you think's going to Washington?
Here's my thing about Jaden Daniels. Name one quarterback besides Joe Burrows that excelled in college with 2 possible. Well, Burrows had Chase and Jefferson. Jaden Daniels has Neighbors and Brian Thomas.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors.
And Brian Thomas. There's some mock drafts that have both of them going in the top 10.
Who, Brian Thomas Jr.?
That's the other one from LSU,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's been all over the place there, because you goes from top 10 to top 15 because he ran that high 40 time. He's a sure-handed receiver, and of course, he's been outplayed or outshadowed by Malik Neighbors. Outshined by Malik Neighbors, but he's a good receiver. And there was even a mock out there saying that he could go to Tampa Bay at 26. I'm not sure if he lasts. I think there's going to be a big-time run on quarterbacks. I think there's going to be a big-time wide receivers. And if there's a team that's desperate enough, you talk about the Chargers. I mean, do they take an offensive lineman? They're not going to take a quarterback because you got Justin Herbert there. But you almost certainly, to me, even though this class is so deep with wide receivers, guys, you have to take one of the big ones. If you can get Marvin Harrison Jr. is not on the board, you could still get Neighbors. You could still get a Dunzier from Washington. You could also get, like you said, Thomas Jr. from LSU. I mean, you just don't know. It comes down to the need, and also the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, if you will. So,
but to answer his question, the reason why I think Daniels will go to Washington, if Washington was smart, they would take him, is because he is the only quarterback of the Big Five that are coming from a pro style of offense. And he truly is the most battle tested coming from the SEC. I understand, I'm always joking when I say the Tiny 10. You cannot compare the Tiny 10 in quarterbacks or even the Pac 10, anything with a battle tested quarterback from the SEC. Bro, especially with the success that Joe Burrow had. I mean, how can you not look at Jaden Daniels? And he brings a dimension to the game that Joe Burrow didn't have, and was his legs.
Agree.
Okay.
Burrow went to Ohio State.
Well, and then also, he went to he didn't work out at Ohio State. He went to LSU, and that's when he
that's when he started playing well. But you can say the same thing about Bo Nix, and he stinks.
He
went to Auburn.
Going back to Daniels, because we talked to Brian Kelly about this at the ReliQuest Bowl, and the thing that got me is he said unequivocally, Leo word, that he's going to command that locker room. He's going to walk into that building and command it. And then furthermore, look, you hire the offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, who's worked with mobile quarterbacks, dual threat quarterbacks. So why not draft a Daniels if you're Washington at that point? That makes the most sense, in my opinion.
Look, I'm a Drake May fan. I told everybody in the beginning that's who I wish the Bears were going to go after. But after watching all the tape and watching them, Drake May is going to be – he's a little bit of a better version of a Mitch Trubisky.
Oh, great.
That's just my opinion.
You just said that, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm drafting him top 10 if he's a.
That's why I think he's going to New England. Let that headache go up there.
Well, they just got off of Mac Jones. I mean, that was a headache. They traded him away. You saw Zach Wilson being traded.
J.J. McCarthy, I'm telling you now, if he ends up going to Washington and he doesn't pan out, and he probably won't pan out, they just ruined that franchise for another 4 years.
I just wonder if Arizona is going to trade down because of Minnesota wanting McCarthy. That's the talk.
I hope he goes to Minnesota. Wouldn't that be great?
The Broncos need a quarterback. I mean, there's so many teams in this draft right now that need a quarterback. Bo Nix, Michael Penix. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are going to be on the board. I don't.
Bo and Michael Penix do not make it in the first round.
Wait, Harry, what if Caleb Williams doesn't work out? The Bears franchise is room for another 5 years.
Well, Tom, and I'm going to leave you with this because you and I have always had a lot of conversations either on the air or even off the air. I will tell you this. This is the first time that we're going to have a quarterback that's going to be drafted by the current general manager, by the current head coach. Yeah, it's either been one or the other. And get this, they have never had a situation where they've had two stud tight ends, two really good running backs, a really good wide receiver core. He is coming into an offense that is ready to roll. That's the difference. When the Bears took Jay Cutler from Denver, their wide receiver one was Devin Hester. I want you to just digest that. When they got the kid in 1999, I forget his name, from UCLA, that was supposed to be the second coming. Cade McNown. He was supposed to be the second coming of Christ. They had no receivers. Do I keep going?
Well, what about Marty Booker? Marty Booker at the time, didn't you have Marty Booker?
Marty Booker came the year after, Pete.
All right.
And it was a little bit different. But you know what? It wouldn't surprise me, but the likelihood of Caleb Williams not making it and turning this franchise into a winner and getting rid of that stench that this city has had is far out greater. That, look, man, he's gonna make the difference this year. This is the kid that the Chicago Bears have been waiting for many years. They have to draft him, Banner. I understand your apprehension, but they have never had a situation like this where this team was built to win and win right now.
Yeah.
There's no apprehension. They're going to take him, but he could be a bust. Jaden will be a bust because he throws the ball to awesome wide receivers. Penix will be a bust too. Those wide receivers in Washington's they're awesome.
Yeah, but I think it's unfair to say, these quarterbacks automatically, because they're throwing the good wide receivers in college, they're going to be, you really don't know, right? I mean, Josh Allen comes out, he's got.
Well, the kid in Houston didn't throw to a bust, did he?
No, well, he didn't throw to a
Hey,
box.
let's talk about that. He threw to Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
So
But
did Justin Fields, didn't he?
well, no,
Just
Justin.
mother. No, man, but
Yeah, well, I think
seriously, bro, trust me when I'm telling you. You're overlooking. You're overanalyzing that. The only quarterback in this year's draft that's been really battle tested in a pro style offense is Jaden Daniels, and Marvin Harrison Jr. has not had. He's got Jerry Rice's son. Okay, you might as well line up a shoelace or Jerry Rice at 150 out there, and he's still probably better than his kid. He didn't have anybody to throw to out there. All I'm telling you is when I see the tape, you got a quarterback that can run and throw with accuracy from the run. You are now getting a quarterback that can sit in a pocket and throw a ball on a dime.
Jaden Daniels.
No.
You like Jaden
Caleb Williams.
See,
I like Jaden Daniels, but
I'll take Caleb. I think
I'll take Caleb Williams all day long.
Who's the biggest bust in this draft, in you guys' opinion, right now? Is it Jaden Daniels? Is it Caleb Williams? Is it Drake May? Is it Michael Penix Jr.? Is it Bo Nix? Is it J.J. McCarthy? Why McCarthy, Harry?
I disagree.
If McCarthy is drafted in the first 15 picks, this has the potential of being a bust. If he falls out of the first round like he should, or he's taken very late in the first round, you can give this kid a year to play. Let me tell you something. You put this kid in the line of fire, and you are looking at a disaster in the making. You give this young man a year, 2 years on a bench to learn in front of a solid veteran. Now you've got the makings of a really good, efficient quarterback. He doesn't have all the intangibles. He knows how to win, but that doesn't make him a great quarterback in the National Football League.
It's a fair point. I would say this with that adversity. You had that adversity with the year before, not being able to overcome the national championship, not being able to get over the hump, and
He's
then
a running back, Pete.
The hump. Well, he was a game manager.
Not in college, he wasn't. I beg to differ with you. Justin Fields could throw from the pocket. The Chicago Bears made him a mobile quarterback. They took advantage of it.
I'm saying McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy's more of a running quarterback than anything. I'm telling you now, he's not a Fran Tarkenton. Okay, you give him a year behind a pro-style offense, and you let him learn behind a veteran. In my opinion, he can prosper in the National Football League. You jump up too far and you grab this young man, and they're going to be clamoring for him. He will be expected to play right away, and I think that's where you can draw some problems.
Well, and that's the reason why a lot of these quarterbacks fail in the first place, because you throw them right in.
Most quarterbacks fail because of that.
Right, exactly. And I hate to say this because I know you guys are both Chicago Bear fans, but Green Bay, they have the blueprint. You go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
Banner's coming down really soon. You had to say the Green Bay Packers. I am going to personally bring him up to your house so he can stomp a mud hole in your ass.
I think Banner's already going to do that. So, yeah, what's up?
Two more things.
Okay.
Wednesday, the Bears are announcing their grand plan for the stadium.
Okay.
I still say it's going to Arlington Heights.
I hope it does.
It's a freaking shit.
That's enough. Somebody just John
Momola says enough. That's enough, Peter. I agree. I was supposed to get off a little while ago. Okay, but I can't. I can't. I'm here suffering.
I hate to say it because I'm not a big time Packer fan, but look at the way they develop their quarterbacks. That's all I'm saying. That's it. The last 10 to 15 years has not been bad for them. So.
They had back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and they get 2 Super Bowls.
Right, because they developed because they didn't throw Aaron Rodgers in there right away. They played Brett Favre. They let him sit.
You said it again. I gotta go.
What? I'm just saying, like they let him sit for 3 years.
Harry, wait.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my biggest bust. I'm looking down the entire draft sheet for a guy with the last name that's Greek.
Karalaftis?
He's already with Kansas City and he's not a bust. You're an idiot.
I'm just saying.
Number 9.
Guy.
What?
Who do you think they're taking at number 9?
Number 9, Terry.
I honestly think that the Bears are going to trade out of that pick a couple of spots to pick up some draft capital and still get the player that they want. And I think they're going to go interior offensive lineman.
I think Harbaugh's motto in San Fran, they win in the trenches. If Alt is there, or that other kid
They
from
got to take him then,
They
right?
Got to take him.
yeah, but
Unless they move back one spot because someone really wants one of these quarterbacks for
Well,
some
listen,
reason.
you have your two bookends at that point. You have Slater on one side, you have Alt on the other. Let's protect our quarterback and a Justin Herbert who necessarily hasn't had the weapons, although you're going to get the offensive line to protect him, but who is he going to throw to? So
Harbaugh's taking he always takes his trenches. And as far as Keenan Allen goes,
yeah,
I think he's 33 right now in April. He's got
32,
maybe
33 years old. He's still
30.
still
He's got
playing
two. He still plays at an elite level, and he's always been very durable. That's going to be a hell of an addition for this team, especially with a rookie quarterback.
Allen is durable.
Yeah,
he's not.
he got hurt last year.
No.
Yeah,
No,
he's a guy that gets
No,
hurt.
he's not durable at all.
He's not durable.
He'll be fine.
He gets hurt.
Stop hating.
All right, Harry.
Banner.
The Jeep is at your shop.
Well, thank you very much.
No, yeah, we can.
No problem. I'm taking that out for a little joyride. You know what? My boy John Mamola, he's going to want to borrow it for like a week. We're all good.
Yeah, those things ride like garbage. But if you take the top off and the things off and take the doors off, they're fun.
John and I are going to be cruising to Greek Town in your Jeep when you come down to pick it up. Man, thank you so much for the call, Banner. We'll see you soon. Okay, brother?
All right, brother.
All right, appreciate it. All right, Terry, we'll get you out of here on that, unless you want to stay on a little bit more.
No, I'm not going to stay on, but I'm going to go ahead and close it out. John, everybody, thanks for all the comments. Appreciate all the love and support you guys give out there. You can catch me live right here Monday and Wednesday nights, right here as a co-host of the Sports Web. And as I always say, keep your bets low and your returns high. That includes you, John.
All right, good stuff there. Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. We'll see you on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. It'll be a long night. It may be a long night, my friend, until about 11. We'll probably be on for about 3 hours. We'll see.
I'll be on until about 10. I'll see you later.
All right, see you later. Get out of here. All right, of course. All right, so if you want to talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what should they do in the draft? What your favorite team? Do you want to be a part of this fan mock draft, by the way? $10, you get in, you get a chance to be the general manager of your favorite team, not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll throw it out there if you want to pick them. We'll make it happen. How many shares, how many likes, what have you done for, my social media experience? Can you share? And you'll be able maybe to convince me. We got Mike Stover who wants the opportunity to be the general manager. I haven't heard anybody else, but there are other teams out there. And the point of emphasis is you pay the fee, you pick the team on Wednesday night, you get on video or phone. I would prefer video so everybody can see your face. You talk about why you made the selection, you make the selection, and if you get it right with the corresponding team the next night, I'll buy you lunch. What's better than that? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Dave here. The center from West Virginia will be there in the second. He's a mauler. Yeah, I mean, that's where I think you go. A lot of people saying, offensive line, love, Jackson Powers, Johnson, Reed, 35 names. I know what his name is. Listen, I don't think he gets past Pittsburgh at 20, and I definitely don't think he gets past the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm not sure if he's going to be there at 26. Now, it becomes very interesting that if he is there at 19, does Jason Light pick up the phone? I think Light goes for center in the second or third round. I think he follows, this recipe for success, if you will, with drafting offensive linemen in the mid rounds instead of going with somebody in the first round. Although Tristan Wirfs worked out pretty well as a first round pick. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Bear says, Tom. Okay. What's up, Greek? All right. Yeah. Roger, excuses. All right. So we read some of these comments already. So I want to get to the other ones. Let's see. Thursday might be a long night with these trades happening. I see madness happening. I love it, Kevin. I definitely think it could happen. And of course, you are the general manager of the Commanders on Wednesday night. That starting at 8 o'clock. Harry will start off the show there, most likely picking Caleb Williams for the Bears. We'll see. D.E. Turner, Bama for the first pick. Caleb Williams is my quarterback. Dave again. Harry, do you have your color of nail polish picked out yet for the draft night? Just kidding. Had to bust your balls. Good luck to the Bears. All right. Super chats are open. YouTube super chats are open. Facebook stars. Give to the content if you like it. Catch up Pete. Yes, I've been teased all night about it. I'm going to continue to be teased all night. Peter is not Italian. I promise you. I am part Sicilian. I am. I'm telling you, I am part Sicilian. I'm not kidding about that. 100% agree on Harbaugh. Let's see. I'm right. What happened to Fields at Roger Shoe? Last year, you were saying he was going to carry the Bears all the way, and that didn't necessarily work out.
This guy sucks.
Great guess. Thank you very much. I'm from Chicago. Who's not from Chicago that's been a part of this show tonight? Mustard, absolutely. I read that. Pete, delete this video. Too much evidence for the feds. The Hawk, Andre Dawson. Go, Cubs, go. Connor Bedard is God. All right. Tom, another great guest. Thank you very much. Hot and wet. Dave, Hines or Hunts Peter? Hines. Absolutely Hines. Catch up.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for picking up on that, Dave. You're the man. Christopher Cole, your check is in the mail also, by the way. Carolina just scored 2 goals in 9 seconds to take a 4-3 lead with 2 minutes left. They could be one of the teams to beat this year, of course, in the Stanley Cup playoff. Best available interior offensive line, DE, doesn't matter to me which is best available if the 2 spots. I hate you, Pete. Thank you. Appreciate it. Best available defensive end or OL, center or guard. We'll continue to read the comments, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the names that could be there at 26 and have been rumored. Doesn't necessarily mean they will be there, but I'll give you some reasons why they could be there at 26. Ronnie, woo-woo. Good night, everyone. I'm going with Harry. I'm going to bed. They will serve you if you ask for it. They will not serve you if you ask for ketchup, I promise you. Roger Shoe says ketchup is for hamburgers and fries only. John, again, that's enough, Peter. Enough. All right. No more Packer talk of them developing their quarterbacks. I promise you. I won't do that anymore. You know, I'm like picking at a scab when it comes to Bears fans, as Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers have had your number. Sorry, did I say that out loud? Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Seriously, for Bears fans out there, I hope it works out for you, because I get tired of seeing you guys be the quarterback graveyard. There's only one quarterback graveyard around here, and that has to be the Cleveland Browns, not the Chicago Bears. And I hope that you guys get that franchise quarterback, and Williams is the answer. With that being said, let's talk about some rumors that have been thrown out there. Johnny Newton, defensive tackle out of Illinois. Nagurski and Woodson, award winner, defensive player of the year. 12 sacks overall, 102 pressures, 6'1", 300. That's been rumored for the Bucs at 26. Are you going with Johnny Newton? I'm going to tell you why he's not going to be there. Now, he may be there because, you know, there's not necessarily a run on defensive tackles. The production necessarily isn't all there, although it's not bad for him. I think the Rams will take him at 19. Right? I mean, because Aaron Donald just retired. So you need a defensive tackle. And there's not a lot of defensive tackles in this draft. Right? You got Newton from Illinois. He's come out of nowhere. Now he could be in that top 15, the top 20 range. Possibly gets to 26. I don't think so because of the Rams. Byron Murphy there from Texas. That's another defensive tackle. But the Rams need one. They just lost Aaron Donald. So I'm supposed to think they go for a quarterback. I get it. Matt Stafford is getting up there. Maybe a Bo Nix if he gets down there. Is a Michael Penix Jr. on the board at that point? Maybe you could go in that direction. But for me, defensive tackle. Now, the mocks out there would say this, and I know there's a lot of Bucs fans that like this kid, Liatu Latu, the UCLA rusher, 13 sacks last year, 21 and a half tackles for loss. A lot of Bucs fans love this pick and think he'll be there at 26. There's also a lot of scouts out there, a lot of talking heads say, you know, he's got the bend. He's got the it factor. He's not great against the run, but he's got the Bosa factor, right? Good bend, can get after it, get around the edge, has the athleticism. Why would he be there at 26? Why would there be teams out there passing up on him? Because he had the Peyton Manning surgery there for his neck. He was away for football for about 2.5 years. He played rugby, got back to it, and it was highly productive the last couple of years. 129 pressures in 25 games. I don't hate this pick. In fact, I have faith. I've always said this with Jason Light and that administration over there when it comes to medicals. They do their due diligence. The medical thing would kind of concern me just a little bit, but they do what they need to do. They get paid to do what they need to do. Okay? I think there's teams out there that may bother them. But you turn on the tape, and again, 13 sacks last year, 21.5 tackles for loss, 129 pressures in 25 games, 2.5 years off. That actually may play to your advantage. Plus, on top of it, he's a little bit frail, right? I'm saying somebody's frail. He's not grown into his full body yet, right? He could get bigger. He can get stronger, and he can also get better against the run. So those are some of the guys there. And, of course, Jared Verse being another player that may be there. I doubt it. I think he goes top 10, top 15, 6'4", 254, 18 sacks the past 2 seasons for FSU. Again, I've been on record to say if that guy is there and he happens to slip 220 or something along those lines and gets past the Rams or gets past one of those teams, if I'm Jason Light, I'm calling the trade up. I don't think it happens. It may be wishful thinking on my side at this point. So open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. We talked about the Rays. They lose tonight. They fall to the Detroit Tigers, 1 game. Shortstop tonight was terrible. 2 blown errors there, 2 blown throws, costing them runs. That's been the thing with him all year long, right? Not only, defensively, he's not the best. He does make some plays, but he also will make some errors. And it doesn't help them out. It doesn't help them out tonight. He hits a home run, makes up for it. In that lineup, he's pretty good. He's a lot better than Randy Arozarena. What happened to Randy Arozarena? I get it's early, but you expect a little bit more out of him, and you expect a little bit more out of Yandy Diaz. So right now, this offense struggling. Definitely struggling versus the Tigers of all teams. The Tigers. Whoa. All right, so open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I think we'll wrap it up here. Thanks a lot to all the guests tonight. Again, join me on Wednesday night, a special early edition of the Sports Web Fan Mock, where if you're a fan, you pay the toll, you pick the right player, and then you get lunch on us on the Sports Web. We'll come up with some wings. Kevin already in for the Commanders at number 2. Harry starting off the draft there. So I definitely want to see more participation. Again, we'll start it off at 8 o'clock and we'll go until, there's still people watching. We may do the whole draft, or we may do until 26, because at this point, I think there's a lot of Bucs fans just want to know who's going to get picked at 26. And then, of course, we'll be back on Thursday night doing a round by round, the first round there, giving you what the Bucs do, what every other team does. We'll take your phone calls, your instant reaction. Like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Give to Facebook stars. Give to YouTube Super Chats. And do 3 things for me on this Monday night edition. 4 days away to the NFL draft. You got to love it. You know them. You love them. You got to have them. So here they are. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the Sports Web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, it's your time. We'll see you on Wednesday night on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. 4 days.